Hi Kinder friends, happy Tuesday. So good to see you today. I miss you guys so much. We are in week 6 and today is Artistic Tuesday. We're gonna be doing something really fun today, and it is observing the caterpillar / butterfly habitat and draw what you see and label the parts. So for those of you who don't know, I have been keeping some caterpillars here at my house in a cup. There's 5 of them, and I got them right after they hatched out of their eggs, where they were tiny little baby caterpillars. And I've been taking videos every day and sharing that in the caterpillar folder that's in our Google Classroom. If your parents don't have access to that, say, hey mom, I want to see the caterpillar videos, or hey dad, I want to see the caterpillar videos. And they're all on our Google Classroom. And you can see how the caterpillars have changed over the last, I think it's been 12 days already. Now, currently, the caterpillars have already gone through a huge change. And when we talk about change in a caterpillar's life, it's called a metamorphosis. Right now, the caterpillars are going through a metamorphosis, and they are inside of a chrysalis. So we're gonna take a minute. I'm gonna take my camera right over to my butterfly habitat right over here, and we're gonna observe the chrysalises. There's 5 of them. We're gonna see what we notice, and then we're gonna draw it and we're gonna label the parts. All right, here we go. All right, so let's do some observations. So before the caterpillars were taken out, they were in a cup with some food, and they grew and grew and grew and ate and ate and ate, and they shed their skin, because when caterpillars are growing, their skin gets too tight. So they shed their exoskeleton, which is like their skin, and they grow bigger and bigger. Now the caterpillars have already made their chrysalis. So I'm gonna kind of zoom in and get real close. And hopefully my phone, oh yeah, will focus on these really amazing chrysalises. And I'll try and hold my phone really still so you can get a good look. But check it out. What are some things that you see when we're looking at these chrysalises? I'll give you a second to think, and then I will tell you what I notice when I'm looking at these chrysalises. Let me get real close. Let's see if it'll focus. Wow, pretty amazing. So when I look at the chrysalis, what I notice is, I'm gonna use my finger, I'm not gonna touch them because they're in a very important stage right now, but I notice all these little tiny bumps on the chrysalis. Wow, it's kind of like little spikes. I wonder if that's to protect from predators. You know what else I noticed? Does everybody see these? It kind of almost looks like baby caterpillars coming out of the chrysalis, but that's not what it is. Does anybody know what those little black little chunks are? That's actually the last skin that they shed. So right before they hang themselves up on the jar lid, and they shed their skin one more time before they build their chrysalis. What colors do you see when we look at the chrysalis? You see kind of like a greenish brown. There's even, kind of some lines going through the chrysalis. All right, I'm getting a really good picture in my head of what we can draw. Amazing. Okay, we're gonna go over to our paper and we're gonna draw together what we have observed about these caterpillars. All right, here we go. So this is what our page looks like for today. If you don't have this paper printed out at home, that's okay. You can just use a blank piece of paper. And we're gonna get started with what we drew. Now, what we observed. Now, if you're doing this at home, you can follow along with my drawing, or if you want to go back and pause on the view of the chrysalis hanging on the lid of the jar and draw what you see, you can do it that way too. But if you want to draw along with me, that's awesome. All right, well, let's start with the lid because that's what they're hanging on. So it's actually a big circle. And I'm gonna draw it nice and big because I wanna make sure that I have enough room that when I'm drawing my chrysalis, that it has some nice details. Now, do you remember how many chrysalises there were? There was 5. So we're gonna draw 5 chrysalises. Now, I don't remember exactly where they were hanging on the lid. That's not really that important. So I'm just gonna draw 5 chrysalises just randomly kind of hanging on this lid. So when I think about the shape of the chrysalis, they were kind of like a long, skinny, pointy oval. So we're gonna draw 5 of those. I'm gonna kind of go up and down, and then it comes down, and it's kind of pointed at the end, and then comes back up. Kind of like that. It's kind of like a wobbly oval with a point on the bottom. Kind of a weird looking shape. I'm gonna draw 5 of those guys because we have 5 chrysalises. I cannot wait to see what the butterflies look like when they are ready. It's kind of almost looks like a funny heart shape, doesn't it? See, I'm gonna put one up here. And maybe one over here too. All right. Now I want to think about some of the details that we noticed on the chrysalis. Do you remember what we saw on the chrysalises when we were looking up at them really closely? What were some things that were on the chrysalis? We talked about how there were some little spikes that might be helpful to protect from predators. And we also talked about how there was kind of some line detail on there. So I'm actually gonna take my marker and I'm just gonna draw kind of like little spikes coming off the chrysalis. Just little dashed lines. Almost looks like a sprinkle ice cream cone, doesn't it? But I don't think we wanna eat a chrysalis. That would be a key. All right, so we got our little spikes on our chrysalis, and then we're going to add kind of those little line details that were on the chrysalis. So I'm gonna draw those in, maybe about 3, 4, 5 of them on my chrysalis, depending on how big your chrysalis is that you drew. Wow, this is looking really detailed. It's fine. Mr. Mac's making coffee, so don't mind the noise in the background. All right, next step. So we have our chrysalis, we got the spikes, we got the lines. Now, one other really interesting thing that we saw on the chrysalis was up at the top. Do you remember what it was? It was the exoskeleton, or the skin that the caterpillar shed right before it built its chrysalis. It's still attached to the top. So I'm just gonna kind of draw a little spiky bump. I can color in black later. Kind of a simple little drawing there. Now these almost look like carrots, don't they? I'm definitely gonna have to add some detail color when I'm done. Now, we couldn't super see on the video, my phone wouldn't zoom in very well, but all of these chrysalises are attached to the lid by really thin, it almost looks like spider webs. Okay, and I'm just gonna draw that to show that how they're attached to the lid. Just some really light, thin lines to show how they're attached, because that's how the caterpillars were able to hang themselves from the lid. Wow, that's looking really good. Okay, it is time to label. Remember, when we're doing like a scientific drawing or drawing a picture of something for somebody, and sometimes it's kind of hard to tell what it is, because if I was to show this picture to somebody, they might think, Mrs. Mac, did you draw some ice cream cones? No way, these are chrysalises, right? So let's write chrysalises, or chrysalis up at the top. Chrysalis. Okay, and now we're going to label the parts so that people know what we drew, because these kind of look like carrots or ice cream cones. That's not what they are, is it? So let's get some labels going. I'm going to draw a little arrow to this part and label it chrysalis. Okay. Ooh, do you remember what we called the last skin that they shed? What was it called? The exoskeleton. Ooh, that's a big fancy science word. I love teaching kids fancy science words. Skeleton. exoskeleton. Wow, and somebody might be wondering what these little dots are. Let's call them spikes. Awesome, you guys. Wow, that's a really cool scientific drawing. You can pause it right here if you need to copy my writing. Awesome job, friends. So cool to see the chrysalises hanging on the jar lid. I can't wait to see how they transform and change into butterflies. Remember, if you haven't seen these videos yet, they are in our Google Classroom under a caterpillar caterpillar folder that I shared on our Google Classroom, and you should be able to access them under your Google account. So parents, use your child's Google account to log into our Google Classroom to access those videos, all right? Now today, we are going to kind of listen to a story. We're actually gonna watch a quick video about the life cycle of a butterfly because I thought that would be perfect to go with what we drew today. So don't forget to take a picture of your work and send it to your teacher, and let's watch an awesome video together. All right, friends, here is our How a Caterpillar Becomes a Butterfly video. Let's watch it together.
Hi guys, Squeaks and I have been solving riddles all week, and I thought you might know this one. What starts its life as an egg, then it walks on many legs, and then it uses wings to fly? A butterfly! I bet you've seen a butterfly. And have you heard the saying, if you've seen one, you've seen them all? That's not true with butterflies. There are over 17,000 different kinds of butterflies, and they come in all kinds of colors and patterns. But all butterflies have one thing in common. They all used to be caterpillars. So, how did this become this? Well, butterflies go through 4 stages in their life that turn them into beautiful insects that we see flying around. Together, these 4 stages are called metamorphosis, which comes from the Latin words for changing shape. So what are these 4 stages? Stage number 1, the egg stage. During the egg stage, a mama butterfly will fly from plant to plant, and when she finds the perfect one, she'll lay her eggs on it. Itty bitty teeny tiny little caterpillars live inside those eggs. When they're ready, these tiny little caterpillars chew their way out of their egg. And now we've reached stage number 2, the larva stage. The hungry caterpillar then crawls out of its egg, and then it eats its eggshell, and then it eats the leaf it's on, and probably the leaf next to it too. Did I mention the caterpillar is really hungry? All the food that the caterpillar eats helps it grow bigger and bigger until it's too big for its own exoskeleton. The caterpillar then molts its exoskeleton, but don't worry, it's already grown a new one underneath to replace it. The new exoskeleton is a little small, so to fix this, the caterpillar gulps in air to expand itself, and then it waits and lets its exoskeleton harden. But soon, that new exoskeleton doesn't fit the caterpillar either. It molts and regrows its exoskeleton again and again, usually about 4 or 5 more times. After all that molting and regrowing, the caterpillar is ready to take a break. In stage number 3, the pupa stage. The caterpillar finds a sturdy branch or stem to hang upside down from. It molts its exoskeleton one final time, regrowing a new layer called a chrysalis. Inside the chrysalis, the caterpillar isn't really a caterpillar anymore, but a pupa. A pupa is an insect when it's in between being a baby, like a caterpillar, and an adult, like a butterfly. The chrysalis has a hard shell to protect the soft pupa while it changes into its adult form. Inside, it regrows its 6 legs and antennae and adds wings. The pupa stays inside the chrysalis for 10 or more days. And then one day, the chrysalis moves, and it slowly cracks open, and the butterfly crawls out. Well, a really soggy-looking butterfly. Its wings are crumpled and wet. This is stage number 4, the butterfly stage. Once the butterfly is out of the chrysalis, blood will start pumping to its wings, helping them to straighten and dry out. Now the butterfly is ready to fly. Fly to some food. 10 plus days without food means this butterfly is ready to eat. Butterflies drink nectar, a sugary liquid found in flowers. And sometimes they like to eat rotting fruit or even dead bugs. Butterflies take in their food through a long tube called a proboscis, sort of like how we drink a milkshake through a straw. But they can't taste food with their proboscis. Can you guess what they do taste with? Their feet. When a butterfly lands on a flower, it can tell if the flower is sweet by tasting it with the tips of its feet. If they like the way it tastes, they'll drink the flower's nectar. Now, full of food to keep it strong, the butterfly is ready to, well, be a butterfly. And that's How a caterpillar becomes a butterfly. Now Squeaks and I are going to go outside and see if we can spot one. And I hope you do too. See you next time on SciShow Kids.